The hardest part isn't prison.
The most challenging part of incarceration is release back home, because you have to build this whole new life from nothing. And you not only built your own new life, you built a new organization from the ground up.
Freedom doesn't mean the struggle is over.
But you still got these critics talking about what they see wrong and trying to compare instead of identifying, things like that.
Yeah.
After prison, the weight doesn't disappear. Sometimes it gets heavier.
Anybody who has not done prison time has no idea what it is like to not only survive that experience, but thrive afterwards.
Healing isn't instant, but change is possible.
The incarcerated individuals in Nebraska really helped to adapt that program and implement it in the prisons themselves. And the staff and the incarcerated individuals all really love the strengths-focused, trauma-responsive approach and say that they're teaching their families at home and all of that as well, and that it's improved. The culture of the prison has changed for them, and there's a lot more positive experiences for everybody involved.
I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you, flying from Florida to come and sit with Script and still assist me in the work to do, because, since I have built this organization, I built it from nothing.
Right.
Just a thought when I came home from prison. And what saddens me is that those critics.
Yeah.
But I know they're just noise.
Yes.
But, unconsciously, it had its effect. Like, they always complaining if something is not right or is not full versus progress rather than perfection.
Right.
And it's like, damn if I do, damn if I don't. Like, I took a risk.
Yeah.
And say, let me save my population. Regardless of, the 22 years that I served, I can go on with my own life, but I just rather stay in Hartford, which has gracefully, taking care of me. But you still got these critics talking about what they see wrong and trying to compare instead of identifying, things like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, like, what you think about that? Like,
yeah, I think it's always easy for people to criticize something that they've never done themselves.
And plus, doing 22 years, I mean, it's not like, they've been out here all their life.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. I'm not going to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say next is anybody who has not done prison time, particularly a lot of prison time like you did, has no idea what it is like to not only survive that experience, but thrive afterwards. And many people that I've talked to who've done a lot of prison time say the most challenging part of incarceration is release back home, because you have to build this whole new life from nothing. And you not only built your own new life, you built a new organization from the ground up. And as somebody who has worked in nonprofits my whole life, who built research centers in universities, I recently built my own new nonprofit, WEI, and it is incredibly hard work. Incredibly hard work. And I think that people, if they haven't done it, they haven't seen it. I think the other unique approach that people give lip service to, but rarely actively pull it off, is that you took your life experience and looked for research to tell you how to help people that were in your similar situation.
As well as myself.
As well as yourself. So you have used research, used data to inform how to help yourself, as well as how to build this program and your curriculum. And very few people do that. I mean, the reason I went back and got my PhD is because I was working in reentry organizations, and everybody had great ideas and great criticisms, but people weren't actually getting help. It's because they weren't using evidence and research to inform their approaches. And a lot of people say they do, but you actually do it.
Yeah, it's not like, I get up in the morning and have to punch a clock and all of that. Like, when you come home from prison, we are bound to punch someone else's clock just, to get off the ground. And some people stays there.
Yep.
I just know that true faith is taking leaps.
Yep.
My leap had led me to see what was missing, what I call that I didn't see what reentry services was given when I was released.
Yeah.
There was so much in the rush for you just to get a job. When you get a job, a lot of us is not in there because we some John Gotti.
Right.
Or, even if we was this, legend on the streets, a lot of guys was getting high.
Yeah.
Let's be for real. And you know what I'm saying? They do better in prison than they do out here. But yet, these people would rather just, I know in the Quran it says that people it's like they would like to see, it touches them when you're doing good, and it makes themselves feel so good when you're not doing good. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what these people want. It's like, damn if I do, damn if I don't. You know what I'm saying? What they want, the booski, or they want, you know what I'm saying, hey.
Right.
And still in the middle, it's still like critics.
Yeah.
But they don't understand, like, I've been around since 2019 during COVID and everything. They can't say this is God's work that I'm doing and that God got us, then what can I say?
Right. Well, you shouldn't have to defend yourself, first of all, right? Like people need to realize that their criticisms oftentimes are operating out of a place for ignorance, but they're also not helpful. They don't help lift people up or lift the community up. That you can give. They
consider themselves doing though. Everybody want these praises and this pat on the back. I got these letters and this letters. I've been doing this. And I'm looking at this guy like he looking at me like I'm ignorant, and I'm looking at him as he's fooled.
Yeah.
Like, what I'm saying? Like,
right. One of the reasons that I've been working in prisons, or the prison space for almost 30 years now, is because of the intelligence, the wisdom, the brilliance out of so many individuals that I meet in prison. Like, people think that because somebody's in prison, they aren't smart, or they make, they're uneducated or whatever. And that is not what you see behind the walls. I'm sure you met a lot of very creative, talented, wise individuals. And maybe they weren't sometimes those things when they got there, but they certainly develops over time if it wasn't there.
And that's true.
flaw of our country, of many citizens of our country, to continue to look down on somebody because they have an incarceration history and think that they're better than them is really, they should look in the mirror at who is being hopeful and positive and who is really not helping at all.
I'm glad you said that. It's not like I don't get no sleep. It's like it be a challenge. Yeah. Because I don't do this for show. I do this because it's needed. Right. Right. These kids come, and try to seek a better path that they have taken, and I'm trying. I'm making the efforts to give them that path. However, they look at your shortcomings more than they look at what you have done. Right. And that's cool too. So, one day at a time. Right. You know what I'm saying? One day at a time. And are you keeping your ears to the street to see what's going on in the social media and all that too?
I try to avoid social media.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So you never heard about what you feel about 50 coming out at Puff like that? I
am so bad about following social media. I have no idea. Yeah. What? So tell me what happened.
No, it's nothing. Yeah. I guess 50 had put out this Netflix, and it was talking about what this guy Puff was doing. Yeah. Like, pulling his skirt up or, yeah, showing some of the dark side. Yeah. But yeah, I was just going to ask you your opinion because me, I don't like to get really involved with that. It's just that gossip or all of that's so attractive out here now. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And I won't point my finger at nobody before I have to point my finger at myself. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? During 22 years, only thing I wanted was my freedom. Yes. I got it. Yes. I got it. Facing 85 years, and it hurts when I see my population just going back and forth with one another, and the whole game, the whole goal is for us to have our freedom and us to be successful. Yes. You know what I'm saying?
Which is part of the American dream goal, right? Freedom, liberty, success. Like it people who have gone to prison want the same thing as people who have not gone to prison. They want to take care of their family and they want freedom.
And you don't know, like each day you go by, we wanted one day closer to freedom. Like some of us just didn't have no clue of when was that day was going to come. Right. When it comes, we better be ready. You know what I'm saying? Just like, I guess when we leave this earth, we better be ready. Right. Like, you know what I'm saying? Your days is being counted for. Like, that's the thing that scares me because I do want to go to paradise. I do want to, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I have a feeling you're on your way there based on all the helping that you're doing that comes at great sacrifice to you. And I want to say, we as an American society are really good at expecting people who go to prison to work on rehabilitation and change and holding them accountable for everything. What we're not good at as a society is holding ourselves accountable. So for our role in what led to people going to prison. So if people are getting an opportunity to get an education for the first time while they're in prison, that's something wrong with our society. If they're getting an opportunity to get health care and mental health care for the first time while they're going to prison, that's something wrong with our society. We have to provide health care and mental health care and education while people are incarcerated, but that shouldn't be their first opportunity to get care and to get education or to get employment.
No, I experienced a lot of people use their success to cover some of their underlying factors of their trauma.
Yeah.
But the trauma is still there. That's why we work so hard on that trauma. And it's not like we're going to get rid of trauma. I'm going to just make that clear.
No,
it's just we
right.
know how to, like move from it or reduce it so we can make better decisions.
Yes.
And coming from the environment that a lot of us black and brown people come from, we're dealing with the environment, we're dealing with our biology, and we're dealing with our, history.
Yep.
That's what those is the three elements of urban trauma.
Yes.
And it's not like, we was dealt a bad hand and we go about it the wrong way. But we always make like the lemonade out of the lemon, so to speak.
Yes.
It's not good all the time, but who's the judge? How would you feel if you back in the corner and you got to wear everyday clothes? I'm not saying us killing each other, but they was doing that to us from slavery.
Exactly.
Killing us, you know what I'm saying? And we replicated some just for that sense of freedom, of success, but, and also I see a lot of people look down on people, of guys who's returning back to prison, but it's not like those guys is, not, most of the time, those guys ain't bad guys or girls. It's just that they dealt with it, the coping skill the best way they can.
Yeah. But
these are the results of unaddressed trauma. Am I right, or am I way off?
No, you're.
Am I making any sense?
You're making perfect sense, and there's so much there that you just said. So I'm going to use some data for those listening that aren't familiar with this. Is when you look, I'm just going to focus on men in prison for a second. When you look at men in prison, like I said earlier, about 98% have experienced at least one significant trauma. That is compared to 22% of the general population in this country who have never been incarcerated. So you've got 98% of men in prison have experienced trauma, and only 22% of our general population have only experienced trauma. Then if you look at the number one layer deeper, the average number of significant traumatic experiences for somebody in prison is 6. So you've got 22% of our population that have had one, and then you've got 98% of this population incarcerated that have had an average of 6. But we expect people who go to prison to act the same of our population of men who've never experienced any trauma at all. And then we expect people who go to prison to have, still be fine, even though they've had multiple traumas. And we expect them to behave the same as somebody who hasn't. It's like we're expecting miracle workers. Our expectations are so much higher for people who've gone to prison and have had so much worse life circumstances than they are for people who've never gone to prison, which doesn't make any sense. Because when people go to prison, we literally physically remove them from their homes, from their loved ones, from their workplace, from their families, and then we put them in cages, which, by the way, is also a definition of a traumatic experience. We put them in cages for years on end. And one of the punishments that are often done in prisons is we remove their ability to stay in touch with their family members, either by distance or as sanctions for bad behavior inside the walls. And then we say, now we're going to open up the gates and you can return to the community and build from scratch as a grown man a new life. And you have not been able to, build any resources while you were inside. You haven't been able to earn any money. You haven't been able to stay in touch with your family. But good luck. And most people in this country know, because we've paid so much attention to veterans, which is a good thing, that veterans who are coming home from war zones have a hard time reintegrating back into society, and they're given supports and resources and seen as honorable. But we let people out of prison and they're not given any of those things, and we expect them not to have a hard time reintegrating.
That's why some people got a hard time accepting the language they given as returning citizens. Because returning citizens, just because we discharged, now we got to go to trial once again while we on the streets.
Yeah.
Meaning that employment, housing, I mean, they always bring that up as if that, will be like, this greater than themselves.
Right.
When I was trying to look for a place because of my past, they're trying to put me in any old crap place. Like, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I live in an apartment still because, on my past, but I just, like I told you earlier, I just bought a house for the guys in my organization, like the participants.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing firsthand some of the bias they have out here. And the only thing you gotta do is say it's from prison, and then when they look you up, they be like, yo, we'll call you, or so I wasn't gonna go through all of that. So this is why I established Script with the help of, God and a close network.
So you're talking about the collateral consequences of an incarceration history and of a conviction history.
Yeah.
So a lot of people probably don't realize that they might, when they start to think about it and look for it, is that on almost all employment applications, people ask if you have a criminal history. On when you apply for driver's license, when you apply for bank accounts, when you try to volunteer at your kid's school, when you try to adopt a child, some people try to adopt children, when you try to foster parent a child, when you try to
because of what, your criminal record.
Ask about criminal record on
guy,
all those things.
He got 34 counts and he's the president.
Right. I know. His criminal record apparently doesn't matter, but for everything else, for every other political office, people ask about your criminal record. And that's why people talk I like the way you say it. You have your first trial and that's what you get incarcerated for, and then when you get home, it's all these collateral consequences. So believe it or not, there's 5,000 laws that prohibit people with criminal convictions from doing things across the country. And that actually came from England practices hundreds of years ago called civil death. So one of the things they used to do was try to punish people by preventing them from participating in any of our normal or any of the country's normal civil institutions. And that's what collateral consequences laws try to do.
Wow. So they adopted
that approach in the 80s on purpose.
I mean, you've been in the game, or you've been around this type of platform for the longest. What do you think would be some of the best ways of getting around this type of, like to succeed, knowing that all of this is thrown at us? Like,
yeah, there's 100 things we could be doing differently. One is we've got to build out our public health system better. We've got to build out our public education system better. We have to increase funding for mental health and substance use disorders. That's at a societal level to prevent people from coming into contact in the system in the first place. But what we can do once people are involved, once they've been arrested or charged with a crime, is if we restructure our mentality around our criminal legal and criminal justice systems to say every contact, it should be an opportunity to get people out of the system Right now, it's the opposite, right? Every contact is treated as an opportunity to push people deeper into the system. It needs to be the opposite. Every single opportunity is about how do we get them out. We do a lot of work with diversion with prosecutors around this issue. Is like how do we look for an opportunity not to convict versus to convict, but pair with supports. Again, not about not holding people accountable. People need to be convicted when they need to be convicted, but then how do we get them out of the system as quickly as possible? The other mindset that really needs to happen is to recognize that every conviction, every arrest, charge, conviction, and sentence is experienced by the people around that individual, their loved ones, their neighbors, their children. You know, our criminal justice system is not about, it doesn't only impact individuals, it impacts entire family systems and communities. So if we start looking at our responses to criminal behavior from a family systems and a community level, that might change what we think is appropriate and what is not appropriate in terms of sentencing and conviction. And then the final piece was kind of what we started talking about at the beginning, which is really addressing the root causes of behaviors, which we have, again, significant evidence that that trauma is driving a lot of behaviors that result in people ending up incarceration. And two of the things that you work on, employment and housing, I know you work on trauma as well and all sorts of things, but employment and housing are basic needs of survival that, you know, people, at least you and I's age and probably after us, learned about from very, very young age, which is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like people need a place to sleep and they need food, you know, in order to be able to meaningfully participate and contribute in day to day in people's communities.
Yeah. So those are stressful events like looking for housing, looking for employment, you know, deployment. Got to start from somewhere, but it's all about just keeping hope, being resilient, and just know that tomorrow's going to be a little sunshine perhaps, or it may not be. It might be next week. But I always learned that resilience is the way, you know what I'm saying, is the real success.
Yes.
You know, and so what about these children nowadays that's so disconnected? It's like it's a different breed out here. It's like,
you mean they're always on their phones and stuff, or disconnected from other human beings?
they glued to their phones. It's not like where their life is at. Like, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean it's causing them serious problems too. Which, you know, anxiety rates, particularly among teenage girls, are off the charts. Depression rates are off the charts in kids, higher than they've ever been, ever. Social isolation is higher than it's ever been. Suicidality of children and teenagers, higher than it's ever been.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's all obesity, health problems. All of them are higher than they've ever been, and people, I think there's quite an unfortunate COVID effect in this. But while people were distracted by COVID, which was obviously a very serious situation and needed attention, they missed our children and youth, and are continuing to not pay attention to the fact that we are in a significant crisis with our children and youth. And, you know, people like to, focus on gun violence and community violence. But a lot of that is happening on social media. You know, it's being driven by, like, gun trade is happening among youth. Children and youth are trading guns and selling guns and creating whatever the printed guns are. I forget what the term is. That, you know what I'm talking about, like the printing of guns. Like that's happening out while they're at school and they're on their phones on social media saying so-and-so is going to, like, this event's going to happen, that event's going to happen. And it's our youth are driving some of our most significant community problems right now, and nobody's paying attention to them. Not as a general public. I'm sure the schools are paying attention because they see it, but nobody else is paying attention. And you've probably see too in your work inside prisons how the population's getting younger.
And
in terms of who's getting incarcerated.
Yeah. I mean, to me, someone on taking it as it's the move. I came out, I did my bid, I'm going to do the bid just to try to fit in. Like, we did all of that. Like, that makes you even more lonely.
Exactly.
Because you realize that it's not even about that life, and the person is not really about that life. You know, he might got dealt a bad hand, but eventually that resilience make a person just tired of doing all of that and just coming back to them natural selves.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us, that hyper masculinity, you know, that you put a mask on. You robbing yourself of who you are, trying to, you know, be somebody else just because of your environment, you know, in sections. But
yeah,
it's a whole lot to go with it, and I'm not here to talk down about my population. I'm just want to I want to get fed a lot of how I could assist my population.
Yeah.
You know, and go in the right directions. You know, I know the lady, Miss Nadine Burke,
mm-hmm.
She was like, these, because of the kids, they must be drinking from the same well. I don't care what part of the United States you're from. It's like, my take was drinking from the same well. So the well that we drinking from is like misconceptions on all of the negative, and it shows the way we are moving around today, you know?
Yep.
And it's sad because the kids supposed to be our future.
Yeah.
I look at basketball games now myself, and I see these kids like, everybody want to fight, everybody want to be tough. Like, how did you go to college? You go to college, all of that, and you wasn't thinking about that tough thing. And now you make it to the NBA, and you want to be like Billy, Ball Backlund, or want to be this. You taking the I think they just taking the funk out of real ball, and
right.
I don't think it's dumb. I just think it's something that's being unaddressed, because I don't care how successful you are, you probably never face those underground factors of make you feel the way you feel.
Yeah. Well, and they're modeling bad behavior for youth and children that look up to them, right? When they're being, fighting on the court.
Yeah.
And they probably, one of the motivations to go into basketball, other than being rich and famous, I'm sure is also like to do positive things, to do something you love, you know.
You know, for a person who did 22 years, I don't think none of them want to go and face that. I think they should be happy where they at.
Right.
And try to build on that, and don't try to go backwards. And if anything, just try to get some assistance and address some of the things instead of throwing it under the carpet and think it's going to go away.
Right. Right.
Well, I think our time is up, and I'm just so happy that you came through. You don't even know what that means, and I appreciate your time.
I appreciate you. And
Once
everything
again,
you're doing.
Dr. Carrie Pettus, one of the best leading United States of America researcher. Carrie Pettus, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.